Hello and welcome to another Head2Head, and good morning, Keith Sutherland.
Good morning, Dennis.
Keith, we look again at what's got people talking this week. A lot of money going to poker machines, according to the headlines.
Yeah, it's a bit of a worry that $48 million lost in this community, and that when you take it across the board, and it's probably people, problem gamblers. Interesting, in 2010, Productivity Commission came up with a report highlighting that there was 95,000 Australians that are problem gamblers. And that's something that we sort of overlook when you look at $48 million for our local community. And I noticed Carolyn Wallace from St Luke's Anglicare sort of making comments about it. They've got a program to try and help people in the community. But when you take it across the board, that's a lot of money.
Look, it's a lot of money. And I guess I hate poker machines, and I'm not an advocate at all. I walk straight past the damn thing, so that's on the record. I look at it another way though, Keith, too. We've got, at the same time, people talking about legalising injecting rooms and potentially legalising illicit drugs and so on. It's seen as one way to combat the problems that you have otherwise when things go underground. I guess with the pokies, as much as I think they're a pain, they are legal, and the revenue streams they provide are propping up a hell of a lot of very worthwhile community causes and businesses too. I mean, you look at the Bendigo Stadium.
Yep, and that's correct. That, you know, you've got to look at it both sides of the coin, because they're providing employment opportunities for a lot of people. They do donate back. I know the Foundry are giving some money towards the Bloke's Biggest Lunch, so they're putting money in. And as you said, the stadium, well, this new stadium couldn't have been built without the poker machine. So there's two sides of it. It was a lot of money, and I guess my only comment I make is it's unfortunate that perhaps governments are not really taking control of those problem gamblers, and that's something that really needs to be addressed. And the government takes the revenue from it, but unfortunately I don't know if they're really putting back to support some of these problem areas.
I'd go further than that even then, Keith, and I would say this, that it's all very well with the benefit of hindsight, but you know, and poor old good luck to Jamie Packard, probably needs every dollar that he's pulling in like everyone does.
Of course he does.
And good luck to him. But at the same time, how much better would it be if poker machine venues and revenues were absolutely 100% locked into community, as into not-for-profit to go back to community? That would be a whole different ballgame. Now, there's no reason at all why every community group in Melbourne altogether could not own something like the Crown Casino if they were backed by government to build such a facility, in the knowledge that every dollar come through every table and every machine was going back into a charitable or not-for-profit group. And I come back here to Bendigo, and we'll be talking shortly about the Discovery Centre as well. I remember Peter Cox making the comment when I queried him about, I can't remember what the issue was at the time, about good models, financial models in Bendigo. And he pulled me up straight away and he said, Dennis, the difference with the stadium is they have poker machine revenue, about the expansion plans up there and how they're largely self-funded. And I think that says it all. If only we had that sort of an approach, I'd feel a whole lot more comfortable.
But you could say the same about your footy team, like Carlton. Collingwood, they've got a lot of their revenue coming in.
Only, Keith.
But no, I'm not saying about the way they're playing. I'm saying, you say not for profit. It comes back to football clubs that are running some of the most profitable ones in the country.
Absolutely.
And that's propping up their football team. So, you know, is that going back to the community in an indirect way? It probably is. But is that the right response? I don't know. But anyway, it's an argument we can have for a later date. I think.
It is, and I remember arguing that very thing. I was involved in the local, what became the Bendigo Bombers very early in the piece. And I mean, what broke my heart at the time was the fractured environment there is around a community like ours, amongst sporting clubs and organisations. And it was discussed briefly at the time and never went anywhere. But imagine all the codes, and I'd include basketball, everybody in that. To own a venue, and I could name one, but was in fact available at the time, was the Shamrock
Hotel. I remember a friend of mine involved in it.
It would have been fantastic for all the sporting clubs with government support to take on a venue like that. Throw the pokies in there, they're there anyway, but you would have had a very strong, instead of the Bendigo Bombers going under, you would have had a Bendigo Bombers side probably with a premiership under its belt by now, and the whole community benefits.
And saves all the chook raffles that they have to do to maintain the club. So,
absolutely,
yep, that's
yes,
right.
Yep. Coming to the Discovery Centre, Keith, where are we at with that at the moment? I've lost track of it.
Well, I think that they're still trying to raise funds, and I know that Peter Cox said that they wanted to raise $52,000 for the venue to keep it going, even though it probably runs at a loss of about $200,000 a year. I think the last amount I saw was $29,000, so they're still a fair way short. you get the impetus of the campaign going early, and then of course it dies off. So I would have hoped that they'd be up to at least 40,000. The only good thing is that they've got Dr. Carl on their side, and they're hoping that Dr. Carl will come to town and talk and spruik about how the benefits of science, and somebody's got to do it, because unfortunately the federal government's not interested in science anymore. And so Dr. Carl is out there, so if they can get him up here to some sort of an event, maybe they can raise that extra 20,000 to get him across the line.
I'd take it another direction, Keith, and I haven't thought a lot about it, but as it would do with a lot of things, but I have thought about it. And it's occurred to me, we talked briefly initially when this first happened and it blew up, about the fact that last time I was there, it seemed to me, where it used to be state-of-the-art, cutting edge, and you saw it as something new frontier. In a day and age when they've got something on Pluto now, sending back photos, of Pluto, and God only knows what else is happening around the world with Google Glasses and all the other technology breakthroughs, I would look at it another way, and I'd say, why not get serious, whether you be local government or state government and federal government, and turn what is a great facility into something that's focused heavily on the human body and on health for kids. It's geared towards kids in its current format. I'd move the focus away from science in a wire and technology sense, and I'd move the spotlight over to health, when we're living in a society where drugs and drug abuse is absolutely out of control, where depression and suicide and everything else are all on the front pages. I reckon it would just be a wonderful way for kids to go in there, learn an absolute truckload about the human body, and to actually see. I remember going through a university when one of my kids went into a health course, to see the effects on bodies of various substances and
You should donate yours. You could probably start
Mine's
the
on
campaign.
the list. I've actually thrown my old body on the list. I don't know what it's going to be worth. I don't think that'll be an auction to be holding your breath at, Keith, then whatever's left, but it's there on the chopping block. But I just think the focus on health, that would be a wonderful facility there, and kids across all age groups in their curriculum would really benefit from it.
Yep, and maybe get off the ice and see some of the benefits of that, and have some movies up there. So you're right, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah. Adam Goods, where are we at with that one, Keith? Because there wouldn't be a coffee table around town that hasn't mentioned Adam Goods' name this week.
Oh, it's so sad to see that, and I'm not sure that perhaps his war dancing didn't help the cause, but the booing happened long before that, and then we've got Lewis Jetta did it on the weekend again, and the pretend spear into the crowd, etc. That's sort of highlighting, and then I see one of the Aboriginal elders coming out and saying, well, this weekend should be around to do the war dance and things like that. I think that's taking it to extremes, because then you've got a racist element will love that sort of stuff and boo and cheer even all the more. But it's a sad fact of life that I don't know why the guy, after he's come out, he's the Australian of the Year, done some amazing things, that all of a sudden at the tail end of his career. And I would think that he's probably having this weekend off, maybe, to review whether he's going to continue playing footy. And what a sad indictment on the game to see that person that's had a Brownlow medal, done so much for the Aboriginal community, Australian of the Year, to be booed off the field. I just think it's an indictment on this pettiness. I don't know if it's jealousy. I don't know what's happened, but it shouldn't be, and it's not in sport. Sure, I boo the umpires at times, and I did on the weekend. I boo a player that does something, but not to the extent of an individual player where you're consistent. But having said that, being a St Kilda supporter, every time Stevie Milne would go near the ball, was yelled at rapist and all these sorts of things. So it's all part and parcel of our game, but consistently, week after week, it's very ugly. And I don't think there's any part of our game, wonderful game of AFL, to be seeing that, or Australian rules.
Look, I'm a tried and true and proud, tall standing Carlton supporter.
As we know, suffering at the moment, as I'm suffering too.
So I declare my allegiances up front, but it's funny, my own kids have always laughed at the way that I've idolised Adam Goods as a footballer. And I've seen Carlton play the Swans down there in Melbourne at that time. And I've marvelled at just watching him, as you see things that, as you know, you go to a lot more football than I do, but to watch a player like that that's not on the TV camera because he's not part of the play, make position, be where the ball's going to go, and how he reads it is beyond me, but what a genius on the ground. My view on it though, so I've said all that, my view on it though is this, that I think it's oversimplifying things to say it's all about race, or it's all about the style of football that he plays, or it's all about the spear throwing. My own view is it's one issue on top of another, on top of another, on top of another. And I think it would be oversimplifying things to say it was all about that one particular issue. I think it's all those issues piled up on top of each other. And I think my view is, and I've said this to the kids when we talked about it at home, My view is he should have left his politics and his views on the Indigenous and all those things on the other side of the white line.
But he has. He's done that. And the fact that he did that war dance, the booing started long before the war dancing.
Well, you can say that, but I think...
It's been going for 12 months now.
Yeah, that's right. But if you go back, I think one of those issues I'm talking about, adding a layer to the whole campaign of anti-goods behaviour, was that the young girl in the crowd that he pulled out.
I think that's probably right.
And I just think it was unhelpful, and I would have dealt with it off the ground in another... He's got a great platform. He's an Australian of the Year, for God's sake. He's an incredible athlete, and he has a platform for his people to make views and how that they're going to be published in the press or in the media. No need to grandstand on the ground, no need to be doing spear throwing actions. The haka annoys the hell out of me. I'd rub that out of every...
No, it's all part of the excitement.
We'll let them do it in their dressing room, but if I was playing for Australia and facing them, I'd turn the other way when they try to do their intimidating bloody war dance. And I see it the same way. It's intimidating a crowd, it's unnecessary, and I just think counterproductive in terms of him then having a platform to put his views, which are very, very solid views.
Oh, well, I don't really take it that, because I think it comes back to a racing, and that's very sad. And we've got lots of players that do all sorts of things, and you had Akamena standing on his hands, and then you've got others that are giving the finger salute. So it's all part and parcel of the heat of the moment. So I think it does come back to race, and I'm really shocked to think that that's part and parcel of... It might have happened 50 years ago, shouldn't have happened, but it did.
Billy Bob Shorten, as I like to call him.
I noticed that on Facebook, yes.
Billy Bob's gone to his big, the Labor conference, and come away with a turn back the boats policy. I've got a rough idea where that's going to leave you, Keith Sutherland.
I don't agree with it, the turning back the boat policy, as you know. It's a pragmatic stance, and I can understand why he's done it. I think it's the wrong move, because how does half the party, the left, don't support that? The right do support it, of turning back the boats, but it's pragmatic.
What do you think of Albanese, how he handled it?
Well, I think he was probably honourable. Tanya Plibersek and Penny Wong didn't vote. They did vote, but they left their proxy with somebody else, not to be there when the debate was, so that they weren't seen to be going against a leader. That's honourable on one part, but it's dishonourable on the other. If you're strong enough about it, I'd be there showing my no vote.
I bet you would.
And putting it in front. But I can understand it's like a neutralising, probably one of the big election issues, turning back the boats. Tony has sort of partially done it, but how do we know? We don't know what goes on behind the scene. And of course that boat from Vietnam, supposedly from Vietnam, didn't come to Australia according to Tony. Those people are back in the country. Who knows what's consequence for that? But I don't agree with turning back the boats. Where it's safe to do so, that's rubbish. How do we know it's safe to do so? Once that you've gone out of sight, who knows? Where they sink the boat, nobody knows. So
just like
it's a disgusting issue.
I value the need for secrecy around operational matters, just like you, good
No,
self.
I don't.
I have to say, Albanese come out of it smelling like roses to me.
Well,
not pragmatic and not politically smart in the cunning sense of engineering outcomes through machinations with factions and all the other various items that need to be pulled together to get an outcome at that level. And I can see where, in a pragmatic sense, yep, I can see where Shorten's coming from. I have to say with Albanese, though, to wear your heart on your sleeve, he probably reminded me a bit like you. If you'd been there, you'd have been Albanese, I reckon, rather than Shorten or Plibersek, and there wouldn't have been any proxy needed for Keith Sutherland. But yeah, Albanese come out of it for me smelling like roses, as a bloke with a passion and a commitment to principles.
Yeah, and he showed it very much so. But Bill Shorten is very much like Tony Abbott. They're pragmatic politicians. They want to win at all cost. And that's not the way. But Albanese has a stand, and I'd be making stand on issues, so I'd never be Prime Minister because I believe in something passionately. I have to go against a party if I didn't believe it. My conscience has to take control, not what the pragmatism to win an election, to win for the vote. That wouldn't be the way. That's why I could never go into politics.
No, I could see you sitting there. You'd probably end up wearing a cowboy hat with Bob Catter and
no, I wouldn't
Clive
be wearing
Palmer.
that. And I wouldn't be smoking the big cigars with Joe either.
No, I don't think so. Keith, as always, great to catch up and chew the fat. Lots of issues for people to be talking about around Bendigo this week, and we'll look forward to catching up again next week for another update on what's got people talking.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again hopefully next week. Thank you.